All right, good evening, everybody. Today is April 21st, 2025. It's the Committee of the Whole meeting for Barberton City Council Day. Before we begin our Committee of the Whole meeting, we do have individual committee meetings this evening, and we will kick it off with Street, Sidewalk, and Lighting with Mrs. Beck.
We're going to do the special one first. Thank you, Mr. President.
What?
I just thought we were doing the special one first.
I thought we were doing the special one first.
It's last on my agenda. So.
Okay.
There's nothing. Yeah.
That's where it got tough.
There's nothing that he needs to read first before it gets to you guys.
Alrighty. All right.
No.
Thank you, Mr. President. This time I'd like to call the Street, Sidewalk, and Lighting Committee to order. It is April 12th, 2025. The time is 6:05 p.m. We are in council chambers. Everybody on the committee is present, including all members of council except for Rebecca Gerhart and members noted on my sheet. This evening we have 3 pieces of legislation. The first one, a letter from Mayor William Judge requesting legislation to appropriate $15,000 from the unappropriated item of the street operating budget to the capital budget of the street operating budget. Emergency wording and 1 reading requested. Please see request. So what that money is going for is to resurface and repaint the lines on the gray parking lot behind Lake Cinema 8. Reseal, I'm sorry. Reseal that parking lot. Are there any remarks from the committee? No. Oh, you? Go ahead.
Yes, the committee.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. You go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Mayor, is this, the restriping, are the spots going to stay the same, or are they going to change in any sort of way?
No, everything will stay the same, but after you reseal it, you'll have to paint the stripes back.
And one more question. Is there, with doing that, since we're going to be working there, is there any possibility or talk, or does it have to go through the post office to move that drop box to somewhere that's a lot more accessible? And I know it's a pain with Worcester Road being under construction, but can it be in a more visible place, or is that something the post office has to decide?
I'm not sure that answer, since it's on our property, it's kind of a public alley. I'd have to get back to you on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
That's all I have, Chair.
Anyone else? In council? Alrighty. May I have a motion to call this to a vote?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Our second order of business today, a letter from myself, Emily Beck, Ward 4 councilperson, requesting legislation to prohibit the use of compression release type engine brakes within city limits and establishing penalties. Emergency wording requested. Please see request, and this was referred from safety. So I think I've kind of spoken to everybody about this, and we talked about it last week. Are there any new things to say about this since last week from anybody on the committee? Anybody on council? In the gallery? Anyone? Okay. So may I have a motion to call for this?
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
All right, everybody, in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then our last order of business, a request from Stacy Carr, Planning Director, requesting legislation to accept as a donation from Barberton City Schools 3 parcels of land located within Newton Park, referred from planning. And those parcels are, I think, under the planning part of our thing. But we talked about this, I want to say, last year. It was just an oversight, and we're correcting that. Does anybody have any remarks about that? Anybody from council? Anybody on gallery? Okay. You have confused eyes, Chuck.
Well, I know this is part of, it's city property, not park property, and me and Bebe were talking about this, so I'm just sitting here with, I was expecting him to say something.
Okay.
It's in planning as well, so.
Okay, yeah, we're going to talk about it again.
So that's why I was sitting here waiting.
You're furling your
Yes.
brow, I see it.
So if it's in planning, then I have nothing to say.
Cool. All right, so may I have a motion to call for this?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
We don't have anything pending. Any miscellaneous discussion from the committee? Go ahead.
Is South Van Buren and Snyder, the lights are still blinking.
So Mr. Teodecki and I spoke about that this morning. So they had other concrete and other things that had to be completed in the intersection. So rather than turning it on, turning it off, reducing the lanes to do this other work, they wanted to wait until all of the work in that intersection is complete, and then it will be ready to go. They're ready, it's just a matter of pushing the button, flipping the switch, pulling the plug, whatever it is, they're ready to function as soon as they're done with the surrounding work.
And do they have an ETA on that?
I didn't ask that information, but we can get that, and if there is one, I can get that and get it to you.
Thank you.
All right.
It's coming, I promise.
Will it beat the development code?
With that,
Will it beat the development code?
yes.
Okay.
It's a race. Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Mr. Street,
Yes, sir.
do we have the bids for the street resurfacing done yet?
So, yeah, so a letter has been submitted to the Street Sidewalk and Lighting Committee. It was 3 days late to make the 10-day to get in front of you guys this meeting, so it'll be at in the next
2 weeks.
committee.
Do we have the streets picked out?
We have a tentative list. So, yeah, so I mean, and that's usually released in a press release once the contract's approved with the contract.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, thank you. All right. Now, with nothing else, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Yes?
Just for clarification reasons. Planning has to read that first before it's referred to you. However, you can refer it to planning since he's next. It falls in both realms, so.
So I already read that I'm referring this to planning, so I have to say,
I just wouldn't adjourn yet, and I would just change on your paper and ask for a vote, just for covering our bases that you're referring it to planning.
vote to refer it to planning.
Yeah. You vote for it, and you'll be referring it to planning.
Okay, so we already did do that. We voted.
No.
No.
You said you voted on.
Oh, I'm sorry, it says
refer
from plan, oh, God, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
You have
Yeah,
to
so
refer to.
just before you adjourn,
Okay, sorry.
we'll take another vote with that wording on it.
Okay, so let's see. Do I have to make a motion to amend this?
No.
No, just reread it.
Okay.
Say refer to.
Okay, so a request from Stacy Carr, Planning Director, requesting the legislation to accept as a donation from Barberton City Schools 3 parcels of land located within Newton Park. Refer to planning.
Yep.
Okay, may I have a motion to call this to a vote?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Okay, and then may I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We are adjourned at 6:14.
Thank you, Mrs. Beck. Sorry for that mix-up, but thank you for correcting that. All right, next up is Environmental Health and Social Services with Ms. Tager.
President Greer, Environmental Health and Social Services, meeting in council chamber, April 21st at 6:12 p.m. All members of my committee, as well as all other council members and guests as noted on my list are present. We have no request for legislation, no pending legislation. One thing I would like to bring up from the Summit County Public Health Influenza Surveillance Report, from week 25 to week 26 of their surveillance, the number of tests for influenza has gone down. For influenza A, the number of positive tests has gone down 7%, and for influenza B, it's gone up 2%. So we are seeing the numbers starting to drop, so that's a good thing. And hopefully with the warmer weather will continue, and we will continue to see those drop. Other than that, really don't have anything. Is there anything, any discussion from my committee or the body? from the gallery? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
And we are adjourned at 6:14.
Thank you, Mrs. Hager. And next up is Planning, Annexation, and Codes, Mr. Heidick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning, Annexation, and Codes, it's Monday, April 21st, 2025, 6:14 Council Chambers. The committee is present, which consists of Councilors Thompson, Harris, President Greer, and myself as chair. All others are noted. We do have one request, request from Stacy Carr, Planning Director, requesting legislation to accept as a donation from Barberton City Schools 3 parcels of land located within Newton Park. This has been referred from streets. Does everybody have the map of the parcels there? I do want to include in one of those sections when the draft comes out that there should be no, other than routine maintenance, there should be no construct or no improvements to these parcels until the legislative body lifts that prohibition. The reason being is parks can only be designated parks by ordinance. These 3 parcels of land are zoned residential, just like most parks, by the development code, which we still use. But until an ordinance is actually passed to dedicate this area as parkland, it is not parkland. It does not fall under the purview of the Parks Commission, of anything except an average residential city lot. And I don't want anything happening to these in case in the future with obviously one parcel locked in, bordering another one that's locked in, with another one bordering the streets, hence the Streets Committee. If the city were to suddenly look at this and say, this could be a small cul-de-sac for housing, it's zoned for that properly, and it's not parkland. An entrance off of Yonkers into that to make a cul-de-sac. So what I fear is that if we accept it without a caveat on there that there cannot be any improvements made to it, I'm fearful the Parks Commission may try to move forward on it, thinking it's part of the park. It is not. Am I clear? Are there any questions on any of that? Mr. President?
Thank you, Chair. I guess the next question would be, how would you add that into the language?
I would have to get with the law department to add that as one of the sections in the ordinance.
So, in that logic, would you be holding it until?
No, I would have to amend the draft, or
So
send
you
the
would-
language to the draft.
But
But that's why I'm saying it now that I'm
okay.
adding.
So you want to bring it out, but you're going to be adding that.
Yes.
Okay, I got you. That's why I was saying when it was going to happen. So,
Yes.
all right. Awesome. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Mr. Mayor?
Just have a couple comments. So depending on how it's defined as permanent structure, we've been looking for a number of years at grants and things of that to dry the park out, putting in some type of stormwater mitigation. So whether that's bioswales or it's, French drains or, something. So there may need to be some, depending on how long it's used as a soccer field or ball field, may have to be some underground infrastructure. But I don't know where that would be located or anything like that, right? So just want to throw that out there. The second thing is, if you remember years ago when we were looking at Tuscarora Park to be sold or leased, right? We reached out and another attorney through the law department did a deep dive into our rules and also where they originated from and all of that. And it's really how, like kind of how you brought up, how did the city accept the land? And then it falls under that classification of the charter of needing the voter approval to sell or to develop in another way, which you would most likely sell, right? So I agree with you. Work with the law department to see what that wording is, so that way it's in the legislation. But this is parkland, as you can clearly see, that's been used for decades. Most people were unaware that it was owned by the schools. I talked to, I think it came up at a planning commission meeting. One of our members was a part of another committee years and years ago, and he knew about it. But for all intents and purposes, no one realized that this was owned by the schools. So just just want to make those comments about those kind of two examples. You know, we are looking at improving the park to dry it out so it's more usable and it's not so wet and muddy during soccer and other events, but then also making sure that that wording is correct and it doesn't leave it up to interpretation down the road of, it doesn't fall under parkland, so.
To your point, I will clarify when I say maintenance, that includes maintenance of mitigation of water, different type, give examples to make that more clear. But what I don't want to see is the Parks Commission somehow thinking this would be a great place for a pavilion. It's not a park until it's dedicated as such. Without the dedication, they have no say over it.
Right.
And once again, in another year and a half, if the water's mitigated right, that might be attractive to a developer and that might be a thing.
Yeah.
But until we make a decision whether it's going to be parked by ordinance or we would eventually sell it as the residential lots that they are, I want to make sure that there's language in there that there's nothing that can be done to make it basically a park.
And I'm not an attorney, so I'm sure they can work this out, but, you know, just because we call it a park doesn't mean that it falls under the constraints of the charter as a park, right? So I think you could, not that you want to spend the money with the unknowns of these parcels, but you could build a concession stand or a garage there on that land that's considered park land for park purposes, but still get rid of it down the road because doesn't fall under the criteria of the park. So you could redevelop it. So there's a way to do that. But I'm glad you brought this up because the park is used quite a bit. We are looking at making improvements to that area's parking lot. It's kind of a oddly L-shaped parking lot that needs fully improved. But that's down the road as we finish up some of these other things. But I appreciate you bringing that up.
And I think that's a good idea, but we should have that plan first before we dedicate it to parkland or start treating it like a park.
Because you can always amend the ordinance, whatever verbiage has come up for this legislation, you can always amend it down the road to make it parking lot.
Correct. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to call for this?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Those in favor?
Aye.
That's it for this. Is there any miscellaneous from the committee or the body? President?
Director Carr's not here. Was there any new timeline? It changes daily. No, weekly. Just checking it. So no timeline? No update to the
Doesn't
timeline?
change at this point.
Okay.
Couple years.
Awesome. Thank you, Chair.
Any from the gallery? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 6:22.
Thank you, Mr. Heidick. Just for uniformity with finance going last, we do have a special safety this evening. So floor is yours, Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will call this special Public Welfare and Safety Committee to order. Today's date, April 14th. It is 6:22 p.m. We're in council chambers. All members of my committee are present, with the exception of Ms. Gearhart. All council members are present and guests noted on my sheet. We have one request for legislation. This was held from February 24th, 2025. A letter from Jamie Eisman, Director of Public Safety and Human Resources, requesting legislation to approve a tentative agreement with the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association Blue Gold bargaining units effective January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2027. One reading and emergency wording requested. Any questions? We do have both gold and blue voted to approve this agreement. So, with that, can I get a motion to call for it?
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
All right.
All right. Motion passed. Okay, get a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second.
We are adjourned at 6:23 PM.
All right, thank you, Mr. Harris. Last but not least, Finance and Personnel, Mrs. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to bring the Finance and Personnel Committee to order. It is Monday, April 21st, 2025, 6:24 PM here in council chambers. All members of my committee are present, which includes myself as chair, Mr. Heidig, Mr. Griffin, Mr. Greer, as well as all other council members with the exception of Ms. Gearhart, who is absent. We have a few requests for legislation, the first being a letter from Mayor William Judge requesting legislation approving the final legislation associated with the Truson Farm development. Emergency wording is requested. Are there any remarks? Questions? Mr. Heidig.
Thank you, Chair. I've made my position well known that I've always been against this project from the start. However, I did speak with legal, and rejecting this could cause the city to be in breach of the contracts that have already been signed and hold us extremely liable. So if there was anybody like me that is still opposing it, it would be a very bad idea for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions from council?
Thanks for the warning, Mr. Heidick.
Anything from the gallery? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to call for this?
So moved.
Thank you, in a second.
I'll second.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, this is referred from Streets, a letter from Mayor William Judge requesting legislation to appropriate $15,000 from the unappropriated item of the street operating budget to the capital budget of the street operating budget. Emergency wording and one reading requested. Mrs. Beck just went over this in her committee, but did anyone come up with any other questions or comments? Seeing none, do I have a motion to call for this?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, in a second.
I'll second.
All right, those in favor?
Aye.
We don't have anything pending at this time. I'll go ahead and open it up for miscellaneous for finance and personnel. Anything from the committee? From the body? From the gallery? I didn't see Mr. Blake. Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn, or did you have something? Okay, motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Thank you, and a second.
I'll second.
We're adjourned at 6:26.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Thompson. That concludes our individual committee meetings for this evening. We're going to take let's just take a 5-minute break and we'll come back and run through our committee of the whole meeting.
Revolver, going out.
TikTok.
Keeps its own
High school teacher used to do that.
And you guys missed a good time Thursday.
That's awesome. All right, we are live.
Thursday? Oh,
Yep.
yes.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with the Committee of the Whole meeting. Today is April 21st, 2025. This is a Committee of the Whole meeting for Barberton City Council. I call this meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to move into citizens addressing council. We do have one today, Mr. LaFerny, correct? If you want to step up to that microphone right there, just one more time. Please state your name, address, and reason for speaking, and you'll have 5 minutes uninterrupted. Just note that the council members will not respond to anything, but you're welcome to stay after council if you'd like to talk to a council person. Floor is yours, sir.
Yes, my name's David LaFerny. I live at 219 14th Street Northwest. Here for a couple of reasons. The main thing is I'm Miss Gray's advocate. She's lived at her present location for 70 years, 1955, when they bought that house. Been paying property tax. Pardon me, my sugar's dropped. I'm nervous, stressed over this whole deal.
Take your time.
We've lived through so many floods. Furnace, water heater, washer, dryer, food, clothes, Irene's life. Carried out. When we get flooded, sewer water comes up. That brown water, we don't live in flood in farm country. You know what that brown water is. Covers everything. We carry it out. It's in and out from a door in the back. Stack it out there, clean up, save what we can, carry it back down. Irene's 94. She can't do it no more. We get no help. I appreciate council listening. Sorry, I'm emotional. It's not my best day. We've been drugged to court. The building department's been out. First it was they were complaining about the lawn chairs in the yard. Well, Irene's doctor says put lawn chairs in the yard so when she's out in the yard, she has a place to sit instead of fall. Well, so we moved them around. They came back and complained about the 5-gallon buckets in the yard. Well, some of that's for flower garden. I took her flower garden over and try to grow us some healthy things to eat in it. And water for the plants. You know, you got the chlorine in the water that damages the plant, so if you let the water sit, good advice for everybody, if you don't already know, to let your water sit on the counter overnight to let the chlorine gas off gas. That way, that little bit of chlorine that they put in it to kill the germs don't kill the good bacteria in your body. Well, they didn't like the buckets in the yard, so we moved the buckets. And then they came back and complained about the stuff stacked around the back door where we carried it out. Well, Irene, like I said, she's 94. She don't move so fast anymore. She's had health problems. And the city said, well, just buy some blue tarps and put over it. Well, we did that. And you know, nothing's been good enough. so we've been drugged to court. Any relief city council can give us, appreciate it. And also this construction on Wooster Road. These construction trucks run up and down 14th Street, flying. They shake the house apart, everything else. No trucks on this street. Marked, no trucks. Those trucks are supposed to be going in and out Worcester Road over to Cleveland, Massillon, wherever they're going up that way. Well, that's a few minutes longer. Really? They're tearing up our street. When they get done with this construction, they're going to come in and repave the street and charge us to repave it for their damage. Could we get something done with that? Thanks for hearing me out.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
There are no other citizens addressing council this evening, so we will jump into our committee reports. First up, street, sidewalk, and lighting with Mrs. Beck.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met this evening in council chambers. We had 3 things to talk about. A letter from Mayor William Judge asking to appropriate $15,000 from the unappropriated fund of the street operating budget and move it into the street operating budget. Also, we did compression break within city limits and establishing penalties. And lastly, the request from Stacy Carr, Planning Director, requesting us to accept the property donated by Barberton City Schools, and we referred that to planning. And with that, I pass.
Thank you, Ms. Beck. Environmental Health and Social Services, Mrs. Hager.
Thank you, Mr. President. Environmental Health and Social Services met in council chambers this evening. We had no request for legislation, spoke briefly about the influenza cases dropping, and with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mrs. Hager. Planning, Annexation, and Codes, Mr. Heidick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning, Annexation, and Codes is calling for legislation to accept as a donation from Barberton City Schools 3 parcels of land located in Newton Park, and this has been referred to streets. I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Heidick. City Properties, Parks, and Recreation, Mr. Easton.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, we have no new legislation and no pending legislation. With that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Easton. Public Welfare and Safety, Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Welfare and Safety met on April 14th. We had a request for legislation for a letter from Emily Beck, Ward 4 councilperson, regarding the prohibiting the compression release type braking. We also had a letter from Chief Honor requesting a resolution to honor service of Lieutenant David Semnavan, who retired February 14th. And we have a letter from the Barberton Fire Department requesting a resolution to honor the service of Chief Stephen Iona. Tonight we had a special Public Welfare and Safety Committee meeting, and it was for it was a request for legislation, a letter from Jamie Eisman, Director of Public Safety, regarding the Ohio Patrolman Benevolence Association Blue Gold Bargaining Unit contract. And we voted that out of committee this evening. And with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Rules, Marketing, and Development. Who's chair?
That's-
Chair.
Co-chair.
Co-chair. Sorry.
Sorry. Last week, I don't recall what we did last week. We met last week, talked about, I brought up my rule change. She wanted to pass things all together, like as a group, all of our suggestions for rule changes. I'm trying to recall anything else, and with that, I pass.
All right. It's a little odd I just called on you, but.
I totally forgot that I would have to do that, sorry.
Thank you, Mrs. Beck. City Utilities, Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Utilities has nothing to report. With that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Finance and Personnel, Mrs. Thompson.
Thank you,
Mr. President, last week, council voted on all pending legislation that was in Finance Committee. And then this evening, we met at 6:24, and we are calling for legislation to approve the final legislation associated with the Truist Farm Development. Emergency wording is requested. And then legislation to appropriate $15,000 to the street operating budget. Emergency wording and one reading requested. There was no miscellaneous discussion. We adjourned at 6:26, and with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. Is there anything, that concludes our individual committee reports. Is there anything from the body? Mr. Heidick?
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief, will Lieutenant and yourself be here next week for the resolutions?
No.
I thought it was,
We're scheduling it.
we're fine, it's scheduled for March.
We're handling it.
Okay.
No, I just asked you.
Is, are there anything else from any other council members? Department heads? I don't have anything, so we'll go to mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to thank Jim Culver with the Celtic Club Green Man Project honoring the Tuskegee Airmen with the banner and their names, ranks, and Ohio hometown for the 69 Ohio Tuskegee Airmen pilots that we did just before council. Jim and I have partnered on numerous things over the years, whether that's holidays and kids in the community. It's bringing awareness to cancer. So looking forward to, and this is another great example of some of the work that he does throughout the region, not just here in Barberton. So looking forward to continuing that partnership and working with Jim and the Celtic Club. Change for Change is this Thursday, benefiting Barberton Youth Football and Cheer at the Liedertafel on 2nd Street. This Wednesday is the grand opening of Timber Beast Axe Throwing in the escape room at 3 o'clock here on West Tusk. Also, we have our health board meeting this Wednesday, but it will be held down at the Mayor's Conference Room downstairs versus up here. This Saturday, Drug Take Back Day, always a great event. Unfortunately, it's like a former festival. It tends to always be cold and rainy. Sorry, but it is typically. But always a great turnout for that. Also, Take Pride in Barberton Day, spring cleanup throughout the community here. So, and then finally, the Worcester Road West project continues. That's moving forward. Water line is, if it's not done already, it's real close to being completed. But they've got several crews out there. If you drive down the road at different parts, several crews throughout the project. Also, the demolition of the Barberton Annex, former Masonic Temple, continues. If you haven't seen it, feel free to stop in my office and you'll hear it and you'll feel it. They're getting pretty darn close there. So myself, HR director, law director, and the judges are always talking about, they always keeping that eye in the back of your head of the wall and it shaking. So, but pretty cool to watch. And they're making great headway on that. So that's all I have. If there's any questions. Yes.
I guess that does bring up the question. I know this building's pretty stout, but is there any kind of worry about maybe causing some shaking damage as they're getting closer?
If there is any damage, they're responsible for it. I'm concerned and I think most of us, because our back is to that wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I doubt that anything's going to come through. I believe that there's a gap between the buildings, and once they get closer, they're going to, get away from the big claw and get in there and do make it a little more intimate with how they chisel away at it. But any damage will be covered by the contractor.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Just,
Thanks, Mayor. This is just more for a conversation piece real quick. What building was built first? That one over there or this one?
that one over there.
Okay, so this building, that wall has never seen the daylight ever since it's been built. Interesting. Okay. All right. I know it sounds funny, but
It reminds me of, I'm assuming there's some type of block or brickwork there, and it makes me think of those homes that are in town that are maybe this far apart, but there's windows. What are you looking at? You're not getting the sunrise in there. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. They're moving pretty quick. It's only been about a week, and it's coming down pretty well. So, if you have time to stop by during the day and watch it, it's pretty spectacular to watch. So,
Thank you, Mayor.
any other questions? All right, thank you.
All right, with nothing else, this meeting is adjourned at 6:47 PM.